Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm a short, overweight, middle-aged white dude. I've got thinning brown hair, black glasses. I'm wearing a pink/salmon polo shirt, beige trousers, and shoes that are kind of the same color as my shirt because my wife says the matchy looks better. Thanks, my love. I'm standing here in the beautiful Yarra Valley in front of my blue Tesla Model Y. And the reason for that is because in this video, I'd like to give you an overview of the Tesla Model Y. Now, why do I call it an overview and not a review? Well, that's because I've bought the thing, so my opinion's pretty darn obvious. I love it. The first thing I want to look at is the size of the Model Y, and that was one of the big reasons why I got it. For those of you in Australia, you'll be more familiar with the Tesla Model 3, and basically the Y is as if they've taken the 3 and gone and just made it bigger. The thing is, it would be much easier for you to be able to tell the difference between a Tesla Model 3 and a Tesla Model Y if you saw them side by side. Luckily for you, we've organised that. We've spent so much time talking about the storage space in the car, well, why don't we just go open the boot and have a look? So you've got this button down here to open the boot like you normally would, but I like to show off, so I'm going to actually open it with my watch. Pretty cool, huh? And as you can see, the storage is gargantuan. I was amazed just how much. So first of all, you got the basic storage. You've then got these little pads down here, these little areas where you can fit tons and tons of stuff. You've also got this area down here, which you could probably fit, a small child, I'd imagine. I mean, I could probably get in there pretty decently, So it's getting out, that's the challenge. Oh, wow. And you can see that we've already got some stuff in there. I'll just lift the stuff so you can see how deep the whole thing goes. It's about that deep. We've got a beach blanket. Very important to mention, you'll notice in there that we've got a tyre repair kit because these cars don't come with a spare wheel. So we did get a tyre repair kit to put in there for just in case. And there's even more storage space because if you go and look behind that area, there's this little area back here. And this is where we keep our chargers and our extra charging cable. Now this is really cool. This is the wall charger that the cars used to come with. Unfortunately, they don't come with it anymore. So this is something that you definitely want to pick up when you buy the car. You want to get that separately, but they used to come with them, which is nice. So again, I'll obviously do an entire video on charging the car at home using one of those. And the last thing I want to show you in the boot is you've also got these buttons over here on the left, and these are for lowering the seats, just make your life that little bit easier. So I'm just going to push the front one, and that drops the seat down. I mean, it'd be cool if you push it and it came back up, but it's not that fancy. And that's a look at the storage of the Tesla Model Y. One other thing I should mention. A cool thing that you can do that I found out, if this is too high for you, and well, for me everything's too high, you can actually reposition where the boot comes up to. So push the button to lower it down, push it again to stop it, then push and hold the button, and then wait for a beep. And now when the boot opens, it'll only open to that level that you've set. So if your garage roof is too high, or if you're short like me, you can have it only open to the level that you need it to. And if you want to reposition this, Tesla people tell me if this is a bad thing to do. Just push it and then hold again. Get the beep and you've reset it. Easy as that. Now, because it's an electric car, there's no engine in the front. There's even more storage. Let's go have a look. Well, as you can see, the storage space you've got in the front of the Tesla Model Y is not insignificant. In fact, I said in a previous video you could fit a small child in here. Well, I'm not a small child, but I'm small and I'm quite childish. So here we are. Now, unfortunately, this isn't mechanical like the boot. So you have to open it and close it with your hands, like primitive people. And then to close it finally, you push down with two hands on either side of the T. Let's go have a look how you actually get in the car now. So interestingly enough, the key for it, Tesla, is not a key, it's a card. You get 2 of these with the car, and to unlock the car, you just hold it up to an NFC wireless thingy over there. Then to open up the car, and I say this because it confused me the first time I tried, you put your thumb on the back of the door handle, push that in, the door handle comes out, and you get into the car. Welcome to the inside of the car. To start the car, you then take your key card and put it down here in the center console. There's a little wireless NFC receiver down there to start the car. Now, I don't actually use that card at all because I've set up my phone as my key for the car. So I just have to have my phone in my pocket, walk up to the car, it automatically unlocks, I get in, start it, and away I go, which is pretty awesome. Nice little touches. These 2 pads down here are wireless chargers. So if your phone supports wireless charging, just pop it down there and it charges. Also, it's nicely out of reach, so you're not tempted to use it while you're driving. So that's a nice, let's call it a safety tip. I will mention also, by the way, that I am using a very wide lens on the camera that you're looking at me on. So whilst I am quite wide, I'm not as wide as this lens might suggest. I'm vain. What can I do? Just thought I'd mention that. Let's have a look at the interior of the car. And the first thing you'll notice when you sit down is it's quite sparse. Some people would say minimalist. There's not a lot of knobs, buttons, physical controls. In fact, the only physical controls you actually have are these 2 dials on the steering wheel. They go up and down, left and right, and you've got these 2 stalks on the side of the steering wheel. On the right hand side, this controls your gears, so down for drive, up for reverse, in the center for neutral, and the button here is for park. On the left, you've got this stalk, which is your high beams, your windscreen wipers, and your indicators. And then everything else is controlled by this center console screen here. So to get into all of the car controls, you just tap on the little car button. That brings up all of your car controls. I'll do another video that covers all of that. Your air vents are just this whole long air vent here. Cool thing with the air vents, if I bring up my climate control by tapping on this little button down here, this is all my climate control settings. Again, I'll do another video going through all of these things, but to adjust them, you can just scroll your finger along, and that adjusts the direction of the air vents, which is pretty cool. Yet, I will admit, not hugely practical when you're driving. But what you can do is you can use voice commands, like a type of a Siri or Alexa, or Google Assistant, to tell the car to point the air conditioning thing at your face, which is pretty cool. A few other things to point out in here is that you do have a heated steering wheel and heated seats on the front as well as the rear of the vehicle, so I can turn on the heated seats for my passengers in the back, and you've got 3 power settings for each of those. But again, those are controlled from the front, not the back. You've got a whole bunch of other things in there as well. As I said, we'll cover that in another video. You've got some really nice seat controls. Again, this is probably not that impressive for other people, but for me, this is quite impressive. So I can use this button here to move the seat forward. I can move it back. I can move it up. I can move it down. I can move it back up and the back down. And you'll notice on the screen there, it's offering to save these settings. The next dial along, I can move the seat forward, move the seat back. And this circular thing here is lumbar support, which is that's good. Yeah, actually it's a bit too much. Okay, pull it back. In fact, I think what I've done, I'm feeling the seat's quite warm, so I think I've turned on the heated seats by mistake. So I'm actually going to use voice control. I'm going to try and show off, and let's see if this works, to turn the heated seat off. So to use the voice controls, you hold down the right hand dial on the steering wheel. Turn off my heated seats, please. Oh, isn't that nice? Pretty cool, huh? You then got your center console here, which has got some really great features. So you've got actually 2 storage areas here. You've got this front storage area, which you push forward to open up. And you can see here that it's really quite deep in terms of how far you can put stuff in. You've also got 2 USB-C ports on the back here. And to close it, pretty nice. Whee! What can I say? I'm easily impressed. Now, you've got 2 cup holders. Interestingly enough, when I first was looking at reviews of this car, what a lot of them said was you needed to get like inserts for these because they're too big. Now, my wife and I, we use these admittedly rather large water bottles, and they fit in just fine to there. I suppose maybe if you were using a coffee cup, it might sort of jiggle around in there. Truth be told, I don't drink coffee. It's a miracle they let me live in Melbourne, so I wouldn't know about that. You've then got the armrest console, and as you can see again, it's pretty deep and pretty large. And in here on the left hand side, you've got a little socket for a lighter socket, so if you need to charge things that are, you know, a little bit more powerful than just the standard USB. Interestingly enough, the glove compartment you need to open from the control panel here. So if you tap on the car symbol, and then you see here in the top one in controls you've got glove box. If you tap on that, it opens up, and you can see I've got a couple of things in there already. So the hard drive that you use for the Sentry mode, which is all the cameras and stuff, that's saved in there. So I've actually replaced the one that Tesla gave us with the car, and I've put a bigger one in there so it's got more storage. Speaking of which, to see all the cameras, if I just tap on my dash cam, that shows me my back and my two side cameras. If you want to see just the back, you just pull down. You can then go this little disclosure triangle and push up, and then you've also got dash cam, which shows you the dash cam of where you are. So there's the rear view, there's the right view, there's the left view, there's the front view. Pretty cool, right? Up at the top in the center here, you've got your hazard lights. If you tap on that, that turns on your hazards. It took me a little while to find that when I first got the car. And you've also got these two lights here that you can turn on if you need a little bit of illumination in the vehicle. Now, I love little surprise and delight things that I've found in this car. So, like I said, I'm easily impressed. In the shade here, you've got little lights on the side of the mirror. Nice little touch. I know that's probably not that fancy, but for me it is. But the thing that I really got excited about was this connector's magnetic. Whee! And you can see actually there, I'm like a little Greek nonna, I've left the plastic on because, well, no one sees it, and why not protect it? So that's a look at the driver section. Let's go have a quick look at the back seat. Now we've got the child booster there for my son, but even with that you can still see that the back seats have got plenty of space to sit, relax, and it's really in the back seats that you get this great appreciation of the beautiful total glass roof slash ceiling of the car. I don't know if you call the car a ceiling, but let's call it the roof, the glass roof. So it really does look quite stunning when you're sitting in the back. A really cool feature of the back seats is you can actually recline the back seats a little bit, which is quite nice. Another thing to note is that because this car is electric from the ground up, it doesn't have that center column thingy, whatever it is, that you need for the, I think it's the axle in a normal car, in a petrol car. So the floor at the back is completely flat, which just makes it a lot easier for people to fit in the back. You know, the person in the middle doesn't have, you know, their knees up in their face, which is a nice feature. Let's have a little bit of a deeper look at the center console here and some of the settings. So you can see here, to begin with, you've got your car controls when you're parked. So I can tap on this lock and that locks the car. I can tap on again, it unlocks the car. I can tap on here to open up the trunk, or the boot as we call it here. It animates. I hadn't noticed that before. It animated that. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's close it. Dunk. I am so easily impressed. You can open up your charge port, which I just did. Okay, and you can see it's there. You can see in the diagram it's open. So let's just tap on that and close it again, because I didn't mean to open it. And then if we tap on the car controls, so for example, if you want to set up your mirrors, tap on mirrors, and then you use this little dial to adjust your mirrors. So left and right to adjust, up and down to go up and down. You can either save or restore. I'll just restore that. Oh, hello. So it just restores. I'm just going to move my seat back a little bit. And I'm going to save it to this profile because that's the easy entry profile. And you can have multiple profiles, which is really cool. So if I tap on where it says easy entry there, I've got a demo profile. So if I tap on demo, it adjusts the steering wheel, the mirrors, the seat, everything to however it was set up for my profile. If, for example, I went to my wife's profile, it sets up for my wife's profile. And if I set up my profile, it's a bit sad, but I could play with this all day long. One little thing to show before, you can see here, like with a phone, you've got a battery percentage. If you tap on that, that'll show you how many kilometers are left, and that is very dependent on weather, how you drive, all that sort of stuff. So what I was recommended when I first got the car, and I actually think it's a really good idea, is leave it on percentage and it'll be far better for your mental health. Just see what percentage you're on as opposed to kilometers. And you can, excuse me, check the kilometers thing every now and again. To see all the third-party apps, or at least the extra apps that you've got, tap on this little button with 3 little dots, and that shows you all the different apps that you've got installed on your car. So, for example, energy, you can see the energy usage of the car. You can go to Spotify, Bluetooth, radio, karaoke, Tidal. You've actually got a browser, which obviously you're not going to use while you're driving. Again, I'll do another video covering all of this, but I want to show you the funnest / most juvenile feature of the car. If you go into Toy Box, you go to Emissions, and you can even set it as your turning signal. Now, you might think that is juvenile, that is ridiculous. Why would you ever put that on a car? But I will challenge you this. I, in my day job, have worked with some of the top comedians in Australia and New Zealand. And so I know a lot of very funny people. And yet if I watch the fireside scene from Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles, where it's just a bunch of cowboys sitting around a campfire eating beans and farting, I challenge you to watch that and not giggle. So no matter how clever, no matter how intelligent you think you are in your humor, and oh, I've written the most carefully crafted political joke, a bunch of cowboys sitting around a campfire eating beans and farting, hilarious. But I digress. Man, what a digression. Right, well, let's actually drive the car now. You'll notice that I'm in easy entry profile, and I've set that up so that the steering wheel is high and out of my way, my seat is pushed back, and all I have to do is open the door, get in, and it's nice and all set up for me. But then as soon as I put my seatbelt on, because safety first, and put my foot on the brake, and then put the car into gear, it adjusts everything for me. So it puts me into my seating profile. The other thing that it does is the car's automatically in gear. And did you notice how it didn't make any sound? It's also adjusted the mirrors, so this is really cool. Whenever you go into reverse, it'll point your mirrors down a little bit, which hopefully is going to help me not destroy the rims, because I might have a bad habit of doing bad things to rims on cars. So hopefully this feature will really help. You also notice that there's no sound. The car's in reverse. I got in, I started the car up, there was no, it just, that's it, we're ready to go. So, you know, my mirrors are going, I'm in reverse. If I push down, I'm in drive, and my mirrors go back up. But now, let's push that up, put into reverse, and we're moving. And there's absolutely no sound. There's some cars coming, so I'm just going to flick into drive and get out of these nice people's way, and let's get going. So you see how as soon as I put the indicator on, it shows me my blind spot mirrors. That's kind of cool. You can also reposition this, so you can put it down to the bottom, or you can put it up there, or you can reposition it over here. Now, you remember earlier I said something about how I was really concerned about not having any dash in front of me, and away we go. But I've found that very, very quickly I got used to just looking down, just slightly, you know, down and slightly to my left to see the dash and see there's my speedo and all the information I need, and we're, you know, absolutely fine. I want to explain a thing called regenerative braking, which is something that electric cars do. So basically, I'm coming off the highway at the moment, and you can see on the speedo there that I'm slowing down, and there's this green bar at the top of my display here. So I'm actually slowing down now, and I'm not using my brake at all. I'm using this feature called regenerative braking. And what that does is, as you take your foot off the accelerator, there's sort of like this, it's almost like a dynamo. So I don't know if you remember, if you were a kid and you had a little light on your bike, and as you pedaled, the energy of the pedaling, it was pushing against that wheel, and it would generate electricity for that light. Well, that's pretty much what's happening here in an electric car. But as you slow down, there's like a thing pushing against the wheels that slows the car down, but it's using that kinetic energy to put that energy back into the battery of the car. So as you slow down, you're actually generating more power back into the car. Another advantage is you're not using your brakes. So the brakes on an electric car last a lot longer. So when there's this bar that's black, it means I'm putting my foot down on the accelerator and I'm using energy from the battery. But as I lift my foot off, it turns green. So anytime that line is green, what that actually means is that I'm putting energy back into the battery, which is pretty darn cool. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, the family and I, we drove up to Sassafras, which is, I mean, by Victorian standards, we'd call that a mountain. It's really not. It's a hilly area. And we had 79% battery at the top of the hill, and we had 82% battery at the bottom of the hill, which is definitely not something that you get in a petrol car. You don't start at the top of a hill and you've got, 100 kilometers of range left, and you get to the bottom of the hill and you've got 110 left. Pretty awesome, right? The thing to keep in mind though with regenerative braking is that it does take a bit of getting used to, because if you take your foot off the accelerator really quickly, the car's going to stop really, really quickly. So it's almost like, when you're sort of getting used to it the first time, it's almost like when you're first learning how to drive a stick shift, you're like, but within a day, I was pretty used to it. And I must say, I am absolutely loving it, because you never use the brake. You just use the one pedal to speed up, and then you lift your foot slightly off the pedal and you slow down. It's fantastic. So you notice here, as I'm getting onto the highway, I'm using a lot of energy from the battery to get up to speed. But then once I'm up at speed, happy days. I'm on the motorway because I want to show you a little bit about how the autopilot on the Tesla Model Y works. So to begin with, there's sort of two levels of it that you get with the car standard. So to begin with, I've got adaptive cruise control, and how you activate that is you push down once on your stalk on the right hand side, and then you can use your dials to set your maximum speed. So for example, I've now set my maximum speed to 100 k's because I'm on the highway, and you'll notice that I'm not at 100 k's because the car will adapt the speed depending on the car in front of me. So if the car in front of me is not doing 100, my car will slow down depending on how much that car slows down, and I can adjust the amount of space I have between me and the car in front. So I can use the dial on the right hand side of the steering wheel. If I push it to the right, I say, right, well, I only want 2 car lengths between me and the car in front. If I push it to the left, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So if I make it that I want to have 4 car lengths between me and the car in front, my car is actually going to slow down to give me 4 car lengths between me and the car in front of me. Now let's have a look at the next level, which is autopilot, which is auto steer. So the way that you know auto steer is available is if the steering wheel is in gray, and then I double tap on the right hand stalk, and then you see I get these 2 blue lines in front of me, and it says keep your hands on the steering wheel. And now the car is actually steering for me as well. So I can actually feel, as we go around a corner, the steering wheel make like little adjustments, which interestingly, when I was looking at getting a Tesla, a couple of friends who've got Teslas were like, oh, this autopilot thing is the best thing ever, because like when you have it on long drives, it means you don't have to concentrate as hard while you're driving and you can relax a little bit. I found it to be just the opposite when I first used it, because I was like, oh, this ain't right. This is just not right at all. No. But once you take a bit of time and decide to trust it just a little. Now I say trust it just a little because you do have to keep your hands on the steering wheel or else it'll complain. So for example, I'm going to put my hands just here so I'm ready to take over at any moment. But the car will actually complain and say, hey, put your hands on the steering wheel in a couple of seconds, because if you don't, I'm going to turn this off and sort of get you off. So there is a lot of safety stuff taken into consideration. So you can sort of trust the car, but the car doesn't trust you, if that makes sense. So you do have to keep pressure on the steering wheel. And you notice that again, the car's actually slowing down for me. So it's saying apply slight force, and it goes in blue there, so you do have to keep your hands on the steering wheel. But let me tell you, once you trust this, it's really cool. Now, to turn it off, really easy. Either you indicate and go into another lane, and then it'll keep the cruise control on, but it'll take the steering off. Or if you just tap the brake, it'll turn both of them off. And that actually brings me on something that annoys me a little bit about the car. So as you tap the brake, because the regenerative braking is on, you have to move your foot off the brake and onto the accelerator really, really quickly, because as soon as you take your foot off the brake, the car starts decelerating from the regenerative braking. Not a big deal, and I'm not sure how I would fix it, but there you go. So I'm just going to turn that back on, because it is a really relaxing way to drive. And you'll notice that my speed doesn't go to the speed limit, because in the settings you can set it to either go straight to the speed limit, or you can set it to go to whatever speed you're driving at the time. And I prefer to have it set to the speed that I'm driving at the time, so that the car's not going to accelerate or decelerate as soon as I put it on. It's going to stay at the speed that I'm at, and then I can decide what I want to set the max or the minimum as. Well, just the max, actually. So yeah, so that's the basics of adaptive cruise control and autopilot steering. Now, you can get enhanced autopilot, where it will actually, so you notice there the car in front of me is slowing down, and so the car is just slowing down to match the distance that I said I want between me and the car. And if I set it to 4 car lengths, again, the car's just going to slow me down to give me 4 car lengths between me and that car in front. I know there's probably other cars that have got this stuff, but this is science fiction. This is really cool from my perspective. So enhanced autopilot will actually change lanes for you. And if you're on the maps, saying, where you want to go, and it needs to change from one highway to the other, it'll change lanes and get off one highway onto another for you, which is, I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. Yeah, I'm not ready for that. Now, let's get off the highway. Let me stop paying tolls, because I wasn't paying attention what direction I was going. Actually, let me just get off here. And you see that the cruise control is speeding up to 100 because there's no one in front of me. So I'm just going to turn that off, because I'm not actually on the highway anymore. And you see how it very quickly, that's using all the regen, it slows me down really, really fast, which is probably something you don't necessarily want. I'm just going to find a spot to pull over, because I want to show you some really cool stuff with the maps. Navigate to the Lynx shopping center. There we go. Now, cool thing with maps, obviously it'll show you what percentage it expects you to have when you get to wherever it is you're going. But a really cool thing is that if I'm driving to somewhere that's past the range of the car will actually show you what charges are along the way and suggest to you which charges you should stop at and what percentage you should be at and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty clever. Yeah, so the whole range thing, I haven't found it to be any issue. But then again, I'm a town driver. I'm not doing huge long distances. Having said that, we've got a road trip to Apollo Bay next week, so I'm definitely going to do a video about that to see what that experience is like. Technically, we don't have to charge along the way because the car's got the range to get there. So what we might do is we might get all the way there. We're just going to use the wall charger at the cabin that we've rented. I've checked with the place that we're staying, and it's cool for us to do that. See how that goes, and then we'll just need to charge on the way back. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Let me just turn on adaptive cruise control. Let me show you how this works. So it's gonna actually slow. The really freaky thing is when it needs to use the brakes. I actually feel the brake just drops from underneath my foot. So I had my foot just hovering there over the brake, just in case, because I trust the car, but I don't trust the car. And when it needs to use the brake pedal actually goes down automatically, which is just, it's cool, but it's kind of freaky. Anyway, that's what I want to talk about with driving the car. I hope this overview has been helpful for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you already have subscribed, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you the next time. Happy and safe driving.